Hi, everyone, and welcome to the House Salt Book Club. This month we read The Honey Witch. My name is Marines, and my channel name is My Name is Marines. I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. I almost said 2.5 out of 5, but I think it's a 2
That's
out
too
of 5.
generous for you.
Yep, that's so valid. I'm Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. I also gave it a 2. When I first read it, I was like, maybe it's a 2.5 because there are parts of the beginning I really liked, but it's a 2 in my feelings.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Paige from Minimal Bookie, and right now it's sitting at a 3.5 for me. I feel like by the end it's going to be a 3. We will get into it because the more I think about it, the more it falls apart. But reading it was great. It was fun.
I'm Jordan from the Jordan Journals. Similarly to Paige, I think like a 3.5. I had a great time while I was reading it, but I don't think I'll remember anything about this book come like a month from now, maybe even a week from now.
Yeah.
Yes. It does have the quality of like leaking from the brain. I think the place that I want to start a little bit is because I chose this one and I'm feeling very like I keep trying to make cozy fantasy happen for myself and it's just not happening for me. So like, I guess I'm curious about you guys, how you guys have enjoyed cozy fantasy before. Is it just that this one worked or didn't work for you, or like the genre as a whole? So like what here like worked in terms of it being a cozy fantasy versus not?
I think that I have similar problems sometimes with cozy fantasy to what you have, or what you've talked about before, which is like it doesn't know what to do with stakes, and it can get really messy. And Tally's about to have an opinion because a dog's barking. So the like sometimes cozy fantasy works for me, but I find that I actually prefer like cozy dark fantasy or like cozy gothic fantasy. Like I love like a T Kingfisher, for example. That works because it also like lets you have some kind of stakes while also being like there's being these cozy elements. Or like I just read Trust of the Emerald Sea. Stakes are pretty high in that one, but it still feels very cozy, very like Princess Bride-esque cozy. So I think the genre that from what I read, and I haven't read like a ton of it, but for me it struggles with the like where's the line? And I think some books should actually lean more into their like the nothing soup and just vibes, and some books should lean more into plot. And this one tried to do both, and then it didn't work in either way. So that's where I sit with cozy fantasy right now.
Yeah, I feel like I liked Legend. You're gonna hate this. I like Legends and Lattes more.
I'm over it.
Yeah.
I think it is because it leaned so far into like we are literally here and we're building a cafe and that is what you're here for. And I sort of thought that's what we were going to get because of the beginning of this book, the way it really had like I liked the bit where it was just focusing on her learning the magic and like being in nature. That was my favorite part. Of course, when I heard like, oh, you can have love or power, I was like, okay, there's going to be a love interest. Let's go. I love a Regency romance. I was ready. But I felt that was the issue I had with it, was that because it had all the elements that I thought I was going to expect to really, really like and do like for the most part, it did the thing, but it didn't do it quite all the way, which is why it's a 3.5 and not like higher for me, because like the romance element of it, I love that it was a queer romance, but it also just didn't explore like at the time period. It was just like there was too many questions about how they'd set up like, oh, everyone's queer and it's fine, but also there's like this pining, she needs to get married to a man for some reason and have children to pursue life. Like there were bits that just didn't make sense. But I was like, this is the cozy fantasy. I'm asking too many questions. I just need to turn my brain off, was just how I read it. I was like, every time I tried to ask the question, I was like, actually, that's none of your business. Just listen to the story and let her do what she wants to tell you. So yeah, that's how I kind of engaged with it, I think.
And I think that's why cozy fantasy works for me. I don't ask too many questions. I don't really think about it. Like it's just like we are a surface level, like I just read it
just washes
and it
over you.
It just goes into my brain. Right. And I don't really think to ask more questions. I just accept it like, yep, that makes sense to me. And so I liked Legends and Lattes, and I enjoy, like I had a good time reading this. I don't think it'll stick around in my brain, but like I had fun. I don't have any complaints while I was reading.
Yeah. I think that I like, this is why I keep trying cozy fantasy, because in theory, I am like really down with like vibes, magic, and like things that are just kind of like, this is the way that it is. like in theory. But the thing is, I like hearing you talk about this has helped me solidify that the thing is that I do ask the questions, right?
Mhm.
And so every time I'm asking a question of when are we? Where are we? Why
Doesn't
are
matter.
we? You know, like
No.
it's bringing me
Doesn't
out of
matter.
the story, right?
Yeah.
Like, so every time I'm brought out of the story, then I have to go, oh, wait, no, hold on. It doesn't matter. Like, go back.
Mhm.
And so that interaction of like coming in and out of a story that already is so plot weak, like that you're not supposed to be tripping this much along in a cozy fantasy. And it doesn't do well with every time that you have to like start and stop. And I'm doing that so much because I don't understand anything that's happening, like any of the reasons. And so I end up just being mad that this happened to me.
Yeah, but I think that's why I was like, it was specifically the whole introduction of like the Ash Witch. Like why did we have to do that? Because the point where they went for the wedding, I was like, this is so illogical of a choice that's the point where it started to like go downhill for me, was where I was like, you know something is wrong, but you're still gonna go to this wedding randomly and leave. Like it just didn't make sense, and that's
It's
really
your
like the
sister.
last
You
third
had to
they really
go.
went downhill, like because as a contend with keeping it cozy with the romance element, but also trying to keep the stakes
There was
alive.
another moment like that where I don't even remember what it is that she thought. It was something about her family. Like, I really need to go back to my family and like repair the relationships. And like, that's the most important thing right now. Well, it's the second most
Yeah.
important thing, because the most important thing is that I've got friends at my house and they
Uh-huh.
need to know that magic is real. And I'm
Real,
like,
yeah.
girl, in what world is
Mhm.
like whatever that other important thing on the same level of I need to prove magic is real to this person. So it's things like that it just like
Mhm.
so illogical for the character herself. Like the character herself is like not behaving in ways that like make sense for her. And I was just like, the entire time it was just like, this was me reading, oh brother. It was just like everything she did, I was like, give me a break. So I did not have a great time.
Yeah, I think it would have worked better. Like I know we're going to get into this, but what I liked the most about it was that first bit where she gets to like the island, whatever, and like there's all the little nature spirits and she has her little bees and she's making little like spells for people and whatever. And so if you had kept the I need to just prove that magic is real to these people and just kept that as the thing, that would have been fine, I think.
Fine.
That would have been so much better. It just
Mhm.
would like leaning into the vibes, helping people from like the local area, whatever. And that like cozy, slow thing would have been fine, but it was the like, okay, we're stopping that, even though that was like the main plot, to go do this side quest. That's not even really a side quest. It's actually the new plot now to like go find, the sister and whatever, and then come back and then all it's destruction and very dark. And this also this Ash which is so powerful
Yeah.
that it's just like, okay, now I don't actually believe that you would beat her because she's so like, how did you hold her off in the first place? Like it becomes the stakes are all over the place in a way that doesn't make sense. It's like pick a lane. Like either you wanted it to be this like big battle with this really evil Ash witch, which also kind of didn't make sense. And I think she was trying to do like a one type of magic versus another, but I was expecting more nuance there. And she was like, no, she's just bad and basically dead. And I was like, okay. And then you had this like, again, sister thing, the sister wedding thing, and their romance. And then you had this other, so it almost felt like three different plots that she tried to make work together.
We'll get a little bit back to like world and plots and whatnot, but I think that part of the reason, girl, I just saw like, sorry, this is such a tangent. You just moved your hand and like glanced, and I thought it was a cat. And I was like, when did you get a cat?
Imagine.
It's a cat.
Just jumping.
Anyways, I don't know what I was saying. Something introduction to characters. Let's talk about the main character here, Marigold. Did you like her as a main character? Did you enjoy reading from her perspective? What are your feelings there?
At first. Like at the beginning, she was like, okay, yep, I get what this character is. She doesn't want to get married and she feels very like confined and she doesn't know like who she is and whatever, and like relationship with her grandma, like all of that was great. But as time went on, she seemed like she was being very dumb. So.
Yeah, I'm glad like her grandma, when I was listening to the beginning of it, because I listened to it on audio, the narration was great on audio. A little bit over dramatic at times, but that was meant like it. This is the kind of story where like she's like heavily breathing because the person is heavily like all of that kind of stuff. But the beginning where she's like, "Oh, I'm not like other women because I don't want to get married." I like all of that. I knew I was listening to it. I was like, "Maddie's gonna fucking hate."
You should literally see me yelling about this in my Discord, like, oh.
But I was glad that there's a moment where the grandma is like, just because she has decided that she wants romance, like I was glad that at least like there was some self-awareness of the kind of character we were being given in that moment. But yeah, she was kind of like one of the reviews I read said like aggressively like fine, and I feel like that's how she was as a character. She served her purpose. She was aggressively fine as a character. I feel like halfway through she kind of lost the plot a bit where she was like, I am just so horny that I am going to let this woman die. Respect, we've all been there, I guess, but not to that level. But yeah, I think she was just like a fine character. I will not remember her.
Yeah, I had a similar. Okay, go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, I was just thinking about like that whole like arc of her being, I don't want to get married and I don't want to have like confinement to any person, to like the arc of her like literally killing her love interest. And I was like thinking of all the ways I could justify that. And then I was like, maybe it doesn't need to be justified.
Just don't think about it.
But like, I don't know, I guess if she's a character who's like never experienced, I don't know, love, and then falls in love one time and decides that she's going to abandon her entire worldview because she's only 22, like I could see that. Someone could do that.
Sure.
I will believe it.
I had a similar roller coaster with the main character, which at the beginning I really did not like her. And I was thinking about like, you know, there are a lot of like Regency romances and things like that it's like has a flavor of I'm not playing with you, Charlie. He's like he's like, play? No, those are just me moving my feet. That there is like a flavor of not like other girls, right? Because they don't fit in society and maybe they don't want to get married, or like there's things that like set them apart. And so it's like, why is this annoying me so much at the beginning of this book? And I realized is because it like went on for so long. I think the first 5 chapters were just telling us over and over and over again that she did not want to be married, that she and you know all of the other girls wanted to do their stupid little marriage thing, but not her. And like if it were just once and we could move on, like I could stomach it better. But by the time I like looked and it was still chapter 5 and we were still doing this, I was like, this is too much. I did appreciate that the grandma called her on her shit, and so I was like, oh, it's self-aware, cool. And then around that time, I started to like the character again. But now thinking about it, I probably just liked her grandmother, Althea, and like that elevated the character for me. And then the grandma dies, and I was like, so did my opinion of the character. Just, for the rest of it, I was like, whatever. She did not inspire any kind of great feeling. So that's the thing, right? Like you have to have a really, really strong main character to make the kind of like questions that you're asking about this, like to support it, right? If you have like an amazing love interest, a great strong main character, it doesn't matter when we are, because you're enjoying the other stuff. But not only am I asking, when are we? Also, this girl's like bland, right? She's like a bland side of toast, and that's kind of all you get.
A rich white girl who moved out to the country and realized she was lonely.
Yeah. You're right. That is the story I just spent all morning reading.
And she said, never mind, I don't want to be a forest witch. I would like a friend.
Which is also like, I'm like, girl, enjoy your life. Like, I don't know. I was like, I can't relate to this situation where she's just like, oh my God, I'm so lonely. I was like, you have the cutest little life, and like you are at peace. You are fine. Like this is the cottagecore dream that everyone wants. And also like it wasn't even just that she was bland to me. It was also, again, some of the stupid decisions that we talked about with, you know, like she thinks that there's a threat to the island, but she's still leaving and whatever. But then like even just the stuff about like Lottie so obviously being a fucking ash witch that it's like, can we please like, or something, like even if you don't think she's an ash witch, like this, all of this, like she can see the creatures and and stuff starts happening at the island when she gets there. Like, girl, can you please get it together? with like figuring out that there's something magical about this woman who doesn't know who her family is because they all died.
And then is covered in burns.
Yeah.
Please.
Like it's so it's very like, come on, like you can't kind of be like, oh, I'm so smart. I mean, I guess there are some very intelligent people who can be really common sense stupid, and that is a thing, but it's like, you know, like they're kind of building the witchy stuff as being like, oh, you kind of have to like figure some of these things out and throw things together and whatever, and so you're thinking that there's some like intuitive something there, and she's just like, nope, I'm so oblivious to everything going on around me. Especially like when the animals were like poisoned. It's like the animals that Lottie was just around.
Like, girl,
interesting. Like, so yeah, that was when I started to really be annoyed.
Why her hands were sticky? Like, where else would she have been?
Yeah, like why wouldn't you go check on the bees?
Yeah.
Where else do you think she got the honey from?
Yes. And see, this is my problem with cozy fantasy. Like, cozy can still be cozy without it just being like zero thoughts. Like, please give it one thought. Like, what would like this character think and do in this situation? Someone that we've been shown is like really inquisitive and like does have a natural affinity for magic. Like, you're telling me she can't figure this out? I don't believe you. And so it becomes a really frustrating reading experience. And she became a frustrating character to sort of follow. And then by the time that we get to the end and you have like the kind of, after all that her for like not caring about putting this person in danger and like, you know, taking her love interest to the point of death, to do like the third act breakup of like, I never want to see you again.
Yeah.
Everything just happened so quickly too. It was like insta love, instantly like not caring about her fate, instantly breaking up with her. And I was just like, this is too much.
Right.
Too much.
And well, even break up and then like she gets taken immediately by the Ash Witch. It's like, where has this Ash Witch been? I mean, I guess before that it's like, why wouldn't she have gotten taken before? Because she's been living in this same area like for years. So why wouldn't the Ash Witch take it? Like, it all just like she immediately left her island and got snatched up by this woman.
The only thing that could make sense to me is that she was never invited to that cottage before. So like she never had the ability to like to ruin the
protection
room, right? To let the Ash Witch in. That's the only like thing that would make sense, is that if she went into the cottage for the first time because of Marigold, and that let the Ash Witch in.
Flimsy.
I didn't say it was a good explanation.
It's not even just letting the Ash Witch in. It's like literally like how, like, why wouldn't the Ash Witch have gotten her sooner? Because she was around, like Lottie lived in that village right by the cabin. Like, unless there was a line that was a one-off that I'm forgetting about, like, was the Ash Witch contained? Because she wasn't contained by the protection runes. That was just keeping the island safe.
Yeah.
Like, was something keeping the Ash Witch away from the entire area? Because why wouldn't that super powerful woman have just been like, I'm taking this fucking kid and brainwashing her for her whole life? Like,
yeah, like it would have been more interesting if Lottie had, because like when I was listening again, like I was listening in and out, so that probably added to my entertainment, was that there were less questions being had. But I thought for a minute that Lottie like had known like she was like Ash Witchy and like she was doing things purposefully, so that would have been more interesting to see her like grapple with the facts, until she was like, oh wait, no, she's been taken, something's wrong, she would never do this. And I'm like, but what if she did though? Wouldn't that be more interesting if she done that?
I was shocked that she actually didn't know anything. I was like very surprised by that.
Just because she's so antagonistic in the beginning that you would be more likely
it's just the curse.
Yeah.
It's just the curse.
The antagonism really, really bothered me. We're talking about Lottie now, I guess.
Yeah.
It really bothered me. One, because like, I don't know, it feels like this extension of people not really understanding like enemies to lovers sort of things, or like what makes that appealing. And also I this is like hard to put into words, because I understand part of it is that like, you know, Marigold didn't feel like she had met somebody who was her match, and there's like a whole sapphic romance piece of it that I really understand. But the comparison between like that perfectly fine, nice man that she meets at the beginning of this, who is like genuinely interested in her and like asking her questions, but no, ew, not that guy. And then she meets this girl who's like, And she's like,
Uh-huh.
"That's the one."
Yeah.
That's who I want.
Yeah. And we're just
Mhm.
supposed to be like, "Oh, so cute." Especially because
Yeah.
it doesn't go anywhere from there. It just is like turns into insta love. And then like there's all of these magical explanations of like soulmates and like the curses that like make it make sense.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I
this
think
is
I just
not-
assumed that they were fated because they were a honey and ash witch, and I just didn't ask any more questions than that.
it just I don't know. But you could like if you took this, like I think maybe what's frustrating is that it has pieces there. Like the honey and ash witch could have been like a like slow, like pining, like learning to love each other kind of thing, and like going past her defenses, which she kind of tries to show, but not quite enough for me. And especially to be like, well, this is her soulmate, and she's just like a huge asshole the entire time. Like I kept asking myself, why do these two people like each other? And I don't know that I have like a good enough answer to like justify this as like a love story to me. So I don't know. I think that had the love story been stronger, like maybe I would give this more leeway, but I just really didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like it was. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Marigold made one chocolate cake, and that is when they fell in love.
Yeah.
That was the moment
I
of
love chocolate
where she
cake.
switched. Yeah, that was it. That was the exact moment.
Yeah. If they would have leaned more into some of this, like, well, it was the curse and they were fated, because it isn't actually that honey and ash witches are fated to be together. Like, I actually thought that the grandma and the ash witch were in love, and that's why like everything was all like fucked up, because it's like, well, now we can't be together, so that's like I thought it was gonna be some kind of like soulmate thing with that, which would have been then like, okay, well, ash witches and honey witches are drawn together, but it wasn't that. It just happened to be that these two were drawn together and were soulmates. But I would have liked if it would have leaned into like, yes, there's something complementary, and like they, their powers have to work together, and maybe there's some bigger spells that like are so much cooler even, and whatever. And like I thought that like the grandma would have been with the other honey witch, and it's like, or the ash witch, and they would have been like, well, I want to be immortal with you, and they're being like that kind of thing, which honestly still wouldn't have been super strong, but would have made slightly more sense, where this was just like, oh, it just so happened that your soulmate was this ash witch from this family who's been trying to tear you apart. And yeah, and you guys, and then also like when Lottie eventually explains why she was mean, she's like, I thought you were pretty.
Yeah.
That was like the reason.
I knew immediately that's what it was.
Yes, it's the like Edward Cullen like romance style of like, I was so attracted to you that I had to be mean to you.
Mean
and she's
to
like,
you.
okay,
Yeah.
like
And
weird.
I do think that there were like they talked a little bit about how the two magics have to like work together and like how the one is used. So like it was in there, but it was not the reason for why they got together. It was like two separate things that just happened to.
And it wasn't even utilized. Like
together.
you never really figured out the like how they do work together. Like maybe there's some stuff at the end, I don't remember. But like there wasn't any kind of big like, oh, because again, even the Ash Witch versus Honey Witch felt too black and white to me, because I wanted there to be more like, well, the Ash Witches aren't all bad. And then you meet the Ash Witch and she's like kind of all bad. Like she's like rotting from the like, and so you're like, wait, so why is this magic?
And Marigold's not all good.
Right. And so she
tortures the Modiste, she kills Lottie.
Yeah, she was dark. Like at some point when she was making choices, I was like, are we supposed to be rooting for you? Because you scare me. Like,
and then in that after that moment she kills Lottie, then like the bee funeral scene to like sacrifice them all. I was like, this is dark.
I feel like there should have been, if it's like a nature magic, there should have been some kind of consequence from that.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to bring people back from the dead.
Or
like torture the Modiste to wipe their memory.
Yes. I agree. I also like I at first I thought they were gonna go more like a little more nuanced in terms of like honey and ash, right? Like I think that there was some of that of like, well, ash is needed and like it is part of, and I was like, okay, cool. But then you do get like the evil ash witch, and then you have Lottie just being a dick, and she's also an ash witch. So it's just like whatever it's saying, it's like the actions of the story are speaking louder than the words of the story, right? Yeah. And then you have Marigold like while making all her like terrible decisions that like the book doesn't even really acknowledge. So it's whatever.
Also, can we discuss the friend August and when he decides like, fuck y'all, I'm leaving, I'm gonna explore the world and dance with strangers?
That
I
dude's
was
a
like,
horrible
that
friend.
is actually so horrible. You
Yeah.
found the love of your life, and suddenly you're like, fuck everyone else. I
You
don't
know,
need y'all
what
anymore.
character that is? He's like a menace twink. Like that is like that, and I can say that because it's my culture. Like he is like totally like he would date, like he dated that guy that like everyone hated and was
Yes.
just like
Yes.
with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as he's like, I need to find my soulmate, and so like went and found his soulmate, and then was like, bye, we're gonna go explore the
Yeah.
world. Like that is a twink.
Yeah.
That is a menace twink.
I
He's a
love
bad friend.
What
That's
was
the,
this?
that's the twink that would leave you at the club, just be like super drunk.
Yeah,
and be like,
you were
bye,
too
I'm gonna
drunk.
go hang out
Yeah.
with somebody. That's who he is. I
You're like,
know
no,
who that
don't
man
leave
is.
me, don't leave me. And they're like,
Yeah.
Like, bye.
Find your own Uber.
We're gonna go do poppers. Like, yep. Sorry, that's what that is. So it's like the accurate character for the Regency period, I guess.
Yeah.
how we talked a little bit about like, you know, your fan fiction in your heart, Sam, of like the grandmas being soulmates. But it was actually grandma and like the old man next door, Benny. How did you feel about Grandma Althea? How did you feel about Benny and like, you know, that whole like, I don't know, this is all like island life too, because I feel like there were like cute parts of like the island and the home and the topiary and all of that. So what do you guys think?
I feel like it's the same like it was with when we were talking about Funny Story. We were talking about how usually with Emily Henry, all the side characters are really fun and we love them, especially with like small town stories. Like the cast of characters sometimes is stronger than the main characters. I found like I really enjoyed like there was the one woman who like got the lipstick, loved her. She was great, 10 out of 10 times. So I found like I like the characters we barely had any time with. I was like, oh, but they're so fun, and I wish we had more interactions of like Case of the Day where it was like, oh, she has to solve something and we get to meet some more people from the island. I wish we'd gotten more of that just from what we saw with the limited characters that we had in those very beginning bits.
I was actually kind of excited that it was Mr. Benny. That was her grandma's like soulmate that never got to be, because I was like shipping that in my head for most of the book. But then when they were like, oh, the grandma can't have a soulmate, I was like, oh, sad. But Mr. Benny, he married her. He took care of her. So I was kind of happy to have that confirmed at the end.
I thought it was still sweet. Like I would have, I think, preferred the like grandmas to be in love still. But
I mean, it's about more
it was yes, it was still like cute and like yeah, I agree that there was parts about like again, I would have just liked to have like him to have been around more. Like if I were to rewrite this book, you know, like we always do, like what would be fixed? It would be like Case of the Day, Mr. Benny's around more, whatever. The big battle at the end maybe isn't as big, or if it is, and he like, because even when they had like him like dying or whatever, like that was like, okay, I do care about him a little bit because he's so sweet, but like I don't know that man, like he's, you know, so that would have been, I think, more impactful. Like she should have never gone to the wedding. That should have like never been a thing that happened. And then it would have been, I think, much stronger. But yeah, like some of those side characters were very cute, but it's like flash in the pan.
Yeah. I think the part of the book that like was most effective to me was like her grandma's passing and like the like burial and all of that. Like that actually, that was still when I was like mostly positively thinking about the book. Like I had a few quibbles, but like that beginning portion was the strongest piece. And then we got to like the burial and all of that and the like flowers spontaneously growing and like that choked me up a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, oh man, yeah, it's getting me. It was all downhill from there, but I won't give the book its props for that section. I thought it was like the best done of the whole book.
Yeah.
I don't think we had as much like meandering island life for a cozy for a cozy fantasy.
Yes.
Like there wasn't as much day in the life kind of stuff as maybe Legends and Lattes had. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, like what Bethany said in the chat was like, you know, she continues to be angry that the book refused to acknowledge that romantic relationships are the only relationships one can have, and friendships would have filled her life with love. And she could have found joy and happiness with friends, and the romance could have been built more organically with cozy moments with the friends and like
Yes.
the visit to the family. I would say no to the visit to the family, but otherwise maybe the family like it absolutely could have been these like sweet, cozy, like small buildup, which is again what I thought it was gonna do when it's like stay here so I can prove magic is real. Like I think that's what I thought we were leading up to.
Yeah.
And so then when it starts to go like whoop, now we're going over here, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like
or even just exploring
family.
Yeah. Or exploring like soulmates being like, did it have to be a romantic soulmate? Couldn't have just been like, this is your soulmate as a friend, as an ash witch. Like you guys find harmony.
Yeah. I think also like I liked the idea of like loneliness being the thing that she's combating, but I also didn't understand again, like I don't know, people were always coming to her like cabin or whatnot, and I understand that those were customers, but like I thought the implication was that there was like a town or something nearby. Like couldn't she? And she's like, I haven't spoken to a human. Isn't there a town that you can like go be friendly with some people? And she like never does. So I was like, I don't know. I agree that like that idea of like her stepping out, and especially because in the beginning she has like such strong, not like other girls energy. So like going and finding friends and maybe befriending the lipstick girl and being like, oh, she has hidden depths that I did not know. Like these are the things
she
that like
hated lipstick girl.
She hated her so bad. She's like a baby.
Gross.
Yeah, so those are like things that I feel like would have made sense for that character to be doing in response to like her problem, which was that she loved being a honey witch, but she was lonely. But instead, she just kind of sits there and is like, "Oh man, this is really lonely."
I would have liked her to do like, I don't know, start talking to the animals. Maybe we had some like fun talking animals.
I know, like the little nature creatures, like have little personalities.
That
would have been sweet.
Cute.
Yes.
Yeah, and especially because like the whole her being lonely, like yes, I got the impression that there was like a village close by, and that she's well received. Like it's not like people are like, don't talk to the honey witch, and so then it's like, okay, well then she can't go into town, and like she's just very much a secret to people. It's like no, she was like a staple of the community, but yet was not talking to anyone. But it seems like her grandma did talk to people. Like
you would think like there would be some like affinity, like people would take care of her more because like they had that relationship with her grandma to just be like, we haven't seen this bitch in 3 weeks, we should go like see if she has food, like check in on her maybe. Like
they were all avoiding her to let her grieve, but like they avoided her for like a long time.
Yeah, I'm sure if she came into the village and was like, "Hi, everyone," they'd be like, "Okay, she's over." You know, she's like a grieving period over. But she just said, "I'm not leaving this house. Man, am I lonely." Maybe that's fair. I also don't leave my house.
I don't like leaving my house.
I don't also like to leave.
I think those are all the main characters. Yeah, anybody else or any other like plot or world things? Oh, I guess we didn't mention specifically, we kind of talked about Lottie dying, but I just had to make sure to talk very specifically about the one scene in this book where they are masturbating at the same time, and that's kind of what kills Lottie. Like it is like, I don't know, there's also a declaration of love that I guess you could say is what killed Lottie.
I think that's what killed her, not
I don't believe it. I feel like she's like, she says it and she's like, Lottie? And she's already dead at that point. So like, you know.
I agree with you. I think it was the act
together,
because like everything else had been them physically like touching and being together that was causing her pain and stuff. So like,
but that would have been such a fun workaround. Like I was like impressed about that being the workaround. I was like, love that. But then she dies. Like,
I thought it was a declaration of love that did the dying part. But I think this also harkens back to like the entire setup of this, like, you can never actually find love. Like, why wouldn't her grandma actually say, this is my one beef with the grandma. Why wouldn't she actually say, no, if someone loves you or you love them, it will kill them.
Can cause,
Like, instead of just being like, no, it's not possible. No, it's not possible. It's like, she's going to find out it's possible, girl. You need to tell her that this is what would have happened.
But then also, why did the grandpa forget? Like the old guy, why did he forget that he loved? Like, why would it be possible
I feel like it was
for Lottie to even fall in love with
Yeah.
Like it shouldn't have been like it should have been like a one-sided, like piney
And
situation.
the thing, it makes no sense because the grandma was so forthcoming about everything else. She was like, here's like, if you do this much magic, you'll faint. And like, these are the things you need to do. And she was like fine with her daughter choosing to like choose love and whatever. It wasn't like a thing, she's like, that was her destiny and she chose it. And so it's fine. So I feel like it was like very set up for the grandma to be like, hey, you're choosing this, but if you fall in love, the person you love will die. So be careful. And we don't say that for the sake of like, I don't know, getting to the masturbation scene and being like, oh.
Yes. Or like the, again, is there some kind of loophole that because she's a witch, like that's why they've been able to like, it's not just the, unrequited love kind of pining thing, but it's like, again, say that, and not just, again, have it be like, this is just a thing that we're dealing with. But yeah, it was that scene was just, I definitely had icky feelings about like someone dying after a mutual masturbation sapphic scene. Like the vibes of that are not great. And then like real gross. And then Lottie coming back from the dead, basically, and then like not caring. She's like, we can do it again. Bitch, you died. You were fully dead. And we had to sacrifice like an entire bee colony for you. Like you can't be doing this back and forth.
The balance of nature is at stake here. Killing the bees.
The bees are in danger. We need to keep the bees.
Oh my god, that was like, especially because Lottie at times at least seemed a little bit more like practical, right?
Yeah.
So for her to be like, it's fine though, I love you, and we can just do this, and I can just die. It's like, did you forget that you died? Because I think that you like know that you died. Anyway, that was like, that's what I was like fully done with.
Is this a standalone? Does anybody know? It is a standalone.
I think so. I had assumed that Mr. Benny didn't know because the grandma wiped his memory. Because then once the grandma died, his memory came back.
Again,
I'm filling in blanks that I think she just expected you to fill in.
Yeah, I wasn't filling in shit.
But yeah, he remembered once the grandma
died. Okay.
Their relationship. Yeah.
Oh, so maybe she was like trying to keep him safe by
put a spell on him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take that as canon.
You guys have already started to do some of this in terms of like fixing it. But what are some other things that you would do for this book in order? Like what's your fan fiction here, or your way that you would be like, if you were the editor in this book, which was there one? She should have asked more questions.
Who was it? Who edited this book? Because girl, no.
How would you have fixed this?
I mean, I think I already said what mine was. So mine would be the grandmas were actually in love, but they were soulmates, and she just stays around the island and does what we talked about, like the sort of found family around the village case of the day. And then maybe Frankie comes and visits, and that's how August figures out that's a soulmate going there.
They're going to the wedding.
Like maybe they come visit after the wedding. They like do a little trek through, before the honeymoon or something, whatever.
How would they have done the one bed scene if they were not to go to the wedding?
Maybe part of the house burns down.
Or maybe when Frankie's visiting, they're like, well, he needs a room. So Lottie, since you're both women, you guys share a room.
There's loopholes here. Yes.
Yeah. So could have done one sleeping bag, and there was like a little side quest adventure where Lottie and
they have to go find something like some special.
Yeah, but they get caught overnight, so they have to like sleep, and there's only one sleeping bag. And
there's ways.
I agree about cutting out like the visit back home. I think that like just like refining some of the plots would make it work. I still think that I would bring the family to the island or something along those lines. I would have loved to see like the mom come back and like have that be a moment where she like rediscovers her love for like magic and like things like that. But at the same time, at the end of it, she still wants to go home and be with her husband. And that's when Marigold like realizes, like magic, love, like they're both important things to people. It's just what that kind of like healing between her and her mother happening on the island, I think would have been like a good sort of like subplot or whatnot, versus her leaving the island to go visit her family. So that's one thing that I would do. I think that like the Ash Witch plot needs some help. I don't know that like the Ash Witch like and the immortality thing is like necessarily the thing. I think there was something you could do here about like maybe the Ash Witch like poisoning her home and it like slowly creeping and killing things, and so she's trying to work out how to like stop that or something along those lines that felt less like you needed the big bad and just like you had what the Ash Witch did, like sort of being the thing that she's fighting against.
Yeah, I think my big like fix would have been the whole like making Lottie more aware and like actually actively trying to sabotage. Like maybe like she knew like her grandma's dead, but she knew and she was trying to carry on her grandma's like purpose situation.
Or if you want to keep Lottie innocent, like after her parents died or you know, like later in life, her grandma finds her and starts like, you know, poisoning her of like that, you know, the honey witch is like coming after
like,
her. She's gonna
this
kill
is your
us.
fault. Like the reason your parents are dead. Like that sort of
so she thinks that she's doing good by doing this, and she doesn't understand that her grandma's manipulating her need to want to be in a family or something along those lines. Or it's like, you know,
and she finds her real family on the island with Marigold and
that finds a real family.
Like that would have been sweet, I think, because I loved the element, like the whole, as soon as you set up like you can either have power or have love, the tension of like knowing something's going to happen. I wanted to keep that element of it, but it could have been done better. More pining. It's a Regency. There should be so much pining, and there was not enough pining for me.
Yeah, I would have liked to have more of like that, the exploration of the Honey Witch versus the Ash Witch, and like how the two are working, because I feel like they should be working in balance together, and like there could be like a call for them to be together, whether as like a friendship or relationship, just like how they interact in nature together. I would have, and maybe like one of them was corrupted and then they had to bring them back in. I don't know. I feel like that would have been more like of a fun.
More witchiness. More witchiness.
Yeah, more witchiness.
I like for their like love and like I not kept thinking, but I thought about the TV show Pushing Daisies, where they also couldn't touch each other or else like one of them would die. But it was like there was like, I mean, obviously they were a lot more careful because if you're gonna, you know, you're gonna die. But that also created such lovely tension between the two characters in terms of like how much they wanted to touch each other and be together, but they knew that they couldn't. So I wanted like more of that instead of like, well, we're gonna do it anyways. Doesn't create like romantic tension. It just makes the reader go, well, that's stupid. So like more of like that Pushing Daisies of like, okay, they're both on the island, they're working together, they're falling in love, but they can't touch.
I feel like a lot of books struggle with like how to do slow burn and like enemies to lovers correctly. That like this book definitely shows that.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of books that we've read recently, or I've read recently, that have that dynamic, it just doesn't ever like land really well in recent years.
Yeah, it used to land so well, and then people forgot how to do it. Also, while you guys were talking, I forgot to inform you that she has not one but two editors. So she had a US and a UK editor.
Huh.
Yeah, I just
two people read this book and didn't ask any questions.
Nope. And experienced editors too, like 8+ years. I love my LinkedIn.
You were doing the full LinkedIn.
I sure did. I was like, "What have you been doing?" Oh, 8 years. Okay. So,
and this is why I feel like maybe the problem isn't the book or the genre. Maybe it's just me. Maybe cozy fantasy is doing what cozy fantasy is doing, and I just need to bow out.
I will say a lot of people haven't liked this one. I've been seeing a lot of like most of people being like, like even like cozy fantasy fans are like, hey, again, what is this divergence? Like, so it's not doing super well. So I don't think it's you. And also the two editors.
All right. Anything else we didn't cover? Any final
writing problem, but it's an editing problem too.
Yes, that is also
you have to have a good editor.
Yes, universally right now, I feel like in the publishing industry, we're not doing enough editorial, and it's like pissing me off with the quality of books that we're getting. But alas, was this indie published first?
I don't think so. I think it was
No,
straight,
I don't
to,
think so.
straight to orbit. It was straight to, yeah, because I do think that we have the problem right now of like something being indie or self-pubbed, and then them just picking up and being like, "We're not going to do any editing.
Yeah,
just take it, go." And it's
that's
like
kind of what it feels
so
like.
lazy. I know.
Sorry to that book, but
sorry to Sydney, but
I keep trying to find like explanations. Like, was it this? All right. Any other final thoughts or feelings on the Honey Witch? Great. Our next book is Starter Villain by John Scalzi. And yeah, we'll let you know when that live show happens.
Sometime.
With the cat on the cover, right?
Huh?
Yes, it's
The
the
cat on the cover.
Yeah.
Cat on the cover. Yeah. Oh wait.
Yeah, y'all's cover
thing?
is fucked.
Paige, what's your final? How are you feeling about that star rating?
I think a 3 is like it, I knew it was gonna come down because I was like I was just remembering the beginning bits because that was when I was most engaged, so I was like higher up, but then I didn't have issues while I was listening to it.
Before we wrap, Tracy just said this, and I need to do an investigation on this.
No,
part of it is too because they're expecting editors to acquire more books, but then not having enough time to actually do the deep work they normally would do if they had a smaller list. It's a publishing like
whole industry problem.
Yeah, it's a thing.
I have so many feelings about this. I feel like we're seeing like the culmination of a lot of different things. There was like a mass exodus from publishing around like 2020 and beyond.
Also, that is definitely something we're also seeing.
And then, okay, so at the same time that we're losing a lot of people from editorial, sales skyrocket in like that 2020. And I feel like the lesson that publishing took away is like, oh, less editorial, more sales, we can do this. And so we're kind of seeing like the fruits of that. And I think that people are like publishing in general is taking less risks and they're investing a lot more in sort of like aesthetics and sprayed edges and like, again, less sort of like into editorial because if I don't know, different things are selling right now. And there's a lot more sort of like investment in things that have like a for sure bet, like a built-in audience and indie published book that is now already, did well and sort of things that. And so I just feel like it's a lot of things culminating into, well, books don't really need to be edited that much, do they? Because people are going to buy them anyways. And so
I hate it here.
Red Tower.
Well, the maximum of readers during 2020 who've only read things from like 2020 to now, like they don't. That's what
they don't
used
know.
To reading.
They don't know how good things used to be.
I will say that since working with like in bindery and doing behind the scenes of like going through the process with agents, both of the agents that I've now worked with that we are like, okay, we're start showing them our schedule of, okay, we're going to do developmental edits. Then you turn it back, you'll get another round. And then we'll go to copy line edits or whatever. Both agents have been like, oh my God, we get all of this. And they're astounded by the fact that Bindery is doing like this many rounds of edits, that we've got a whole PR and a marketing plan. They're like, you don't see this anymore. And like, they'll go tell their agency brothers and sisters to be like,
Sam's gonna crawl out of her skin.
I'm gonna die.
No,
I hate this.
I'm dead serious.
How do we fix it? Paige, help. Paige, help me.
We can't. They need to hire more people. They need to hire more people. We have so few people. And it's always been the issue. Like, no matter where I've worked in publishing, there's always been like at least 5 less people than you need on a team to like properly do your job. Like, you do it to the best of your ability, and like the people I work with are fantastic and really good, but they could be even better if they didn't have to do half of the things that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Editors
if
are
overworked
at this point. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll sign off this live and cry.
So apologies to Sydney's 2 editors. I understand you are probably overworked.
You were struggling, probably.
You were
struggling.
Like,
you were overworked, like we all are.
Also, you should have asked a couple more questions, is all I'm saying.
When, why, and what?
Thank you. Love you so much.
And on that note.
All right. We'll see you next month for Starter Villain. And thank you so much for joining us this month. And we will talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.